Uh, the question is playing in December, a big derby. I mean, the seasons have changed, but the passion around this game never changes.
Yeah, look, I mean, I always say that these North-South derbies reminds me of when I was a young schoolmaster. I always used to say, as long as the big games stay the big games, then you're doing your job right. And, there's always been a big game, North versus South. In Doc Craven's time, Tikkies versus Marties. In Doc Craven's time, Northern Transvaal versus Western Province. And obviously now Stormers versus Bulls. So it's a look, whether it's Christmas time, whether it's, June, it's irrelevant. I mean, it's always going to be, and I always say, as long as it stays the big game and it stays the talking point of our rugby calendar, then at least we know we're doing our jobs correctly.
Thanks, Lunga. Hi, Jake. Hope you're well. And the guys there.
Good omen. I'm feeling positive this week, Ashfaq. You never asked the first question, and it's been the first time in 6 games, so who knows, eh?
Well, just concerning of last week's performance heading into this week, I mean, it was so near and yet so far. You must take a lot of confidence out of that, considering, as you mentioned earlier in the season, rotating the guys and still getting a top performance. That must fill the guys with a lot of confidence going into this weekend.
And especially the fact we had 9 debutants. So we had 9 debutants playing last week in the Heineken Cup or the Champions Cup or the Investec Cup as we know it now, but it's where the best players in the world play club rugby. So to get a result like that, and I'm not for 1 minute saying we're happy with it, but get a performance like that, get a result like that in terms of a point, and literally, within the last play of the game, still got a chance to win against a team like Leon is very pleasing. But I mean, you'd know, like anybody, Ashfaq, it's irrelevant what happened last week. It's irrelevant what happened last year. It's irrelevant what happened in the last couple of matches as well. If you look at the Stormers, I mean, they've won. They won their first game, their second game out of 8 on the weekend by a point. So no one can judge anybody by anything. I think it's all back to square one this weekend in the URC.
Just in terms of building up into a Stormers game, as we know the results of last 6, the rotation of your squad, has that meant that the guys will be playing this weekend are a bit fresher than perhaps the last few seasons, and could that be the difference this time around?
Well, I got no doubt it'll be the difference. I mean, if you look carefully what happened, I mean, Stormers went to Leicester with a group, and then they played against La Rochelle with a fresh group, and they had to wait until the last play of the game to beat La Rochelle with their fresh players. So I'm hoping that this week, the fact that we've rotated, the fact that we got some fresh players, the fact we didn't have to travel back and forth to France will give us some sort of extra energy and I suppose some extra fuel in the tank for the weekend, because we know it's a massive game.
Last one, Ashfaq.
Yeah, and then just in terms of injury situation, is Ruan Nokia available this weekend, and is there anyone else coming back from injury or out for the game?
Yeah, we'll pick our team and announce it on Friday, Ashfaq.
Thanks, Ashfaq. Ati?
Thanks, Lunga. Hi, Jake. How are you?
Good, thanks, Ati.
Good. Jake, just on the mental side of things, how is the dressing room just within which mental space is the dressing room ahead of this game today?
Yeah, I can say just, I mean, verbatim from the psychologist in our team, Enan Gericke, says we're in a wonderful place. We got a really great mindset. Players are really looking forward to the game. He spent last week working with them as well while we were away. Spent some time with them talking about the next block of games. And, he's very confident, and I trust him enough to know that he's got a gut feeling for where the team is at this present moment.
Last one, Ati.
Jake, just the record against the Stormers has not been good in the URC. How do you sort of get over this hurdle, and how important is it, to just get one over them mentally?
Yeah, I mean, I knew you guys were going to ask me that, but, I mean, Western Province lost 6 times to Griquas, so, you can never worry about what happened before. We haven't beaten them for a while, but that also tells you that eventually the tide's going to turn. I mean, I've been in sport long enough to know that it doesn't matter what sport you're in, eventually, things turn around. So hopefully this weekend we'll play well and we'll get a good performance.
Thanks very much. How's it, Jake?
Hello, Steve.
Jake, just I mean, we have spoken the last couple of seasons, post matches, and then you have spoken about obviously about experience and so on.
Yes.
Being a factor. I mean, do you feel that you've kind of with the acquisitions that you've made, etc. Do you think you've kind of maybe addressed those issues that you felt were the reasons for you sort of coming up short in the playoff stages?
Yes. Yeah, Stephen. So, I mean, I read your article. I think you were spot on. One of the areas where it was a bit of our Achilles heel was our scrum. And if you consider that at that stage, we're playing against the Stormers with Kitsoff and Malherbe. We obviously were World Cup winners. And we were, started with a really inexperienced front row. We were young, a guy like Gerard Steenkamp and Mornay Smith. And they've grown as well. They've also become better. They've also become much more streetwise. They've also become a bit more experienced. They understand the pressure. And then to get an acquisition in the front row like Aka van der Merwe and obviously Wilco Low were two missing pieces we had in our jigsaw puzzle. And not just them. I mean, you look at, in fact, Ulrich Louw's a bit older now. You look at Marcel coming back from overseas. As I said, our squad has definitely got a couple more bows. Obviously more strings on their bow, and you're right. I mean, you're spot on. I mean, I'm not saying we're the complete deal yet. I mean, we're far from that. But I'm a lot more confident that in areas where we were exposed or where we probably could have become better, we've definitely improved.
And the Stormers lineup has been a little bit patchy at times. Do you see that as an area possibly that you can exploit?
It will be an area we'll go at, but I mean, it's quite ironic because stats are a bit different and they've got quite an efficient lineup. I mean, they probably are not as good as they used to be, but it's still really high up on the stats in terms of the other teams. But it will be an area where I think we can, I want to say exploit, but we can put pressure on them. But, in these sort of games, Stormers don't kick the ball out. And sometimes keeping the ball in field from our point of view as well is also beneficial because we got guys like Willie and Kirtley and Kanan and, Goosen and obviously Ambrose Papier and those guys. So having the ball in open field and in broken play is also a strength that we don't want to go away from. We don't necessarily want to be kicking the ball out and having to set up structured play when I think one of the areas we've been really good at is playing from unstructured ball as well.
How's it, Lunga? Thank you very much. How's it, Jake? How you doing?
Good.
Jake, having targeted the Stormers game by obviously rotating for Leon,
Yes.
does that put you a little sort of under pressure to get it done this weekend? Obviously, especially given the history of the fixture now.
Sam, it's a question I expect from you guys. I'm saying the pressure's on all the time, boys. As I said, one kick in the last minute of the weekend, Stormers would have lost 7 of their last 8. So pressure is the way you look at it, and we're in a very good place. It's got nothing to do with the fact that we're now under pressure, therefore we rested players. I mean, Dobson himself rested players going to Leicester Tigers. So you got to ask yourself a question, whether they're under pressure. I think what I've learned, and I'm talking about from experience, is, and I said at the beginning of the season, which I'm quite happy about because it's now on record. One area I probably faltered in last year was showing faith in the collective squad and in rotation. And that now the fact that I've changed it doesn't mean one or the other. It means that we take every game seriously. But there's no use having guys in your squad and you never use them. And there's no use having a squad that trains together all the time and not keeping guys fresh. So I hope that answers your question, Sim. I mean, it is a big game and it's got nothing to do with what happened, as I said, last year, the year before. It's irrelevant. At this point in time, we points ahead of most South African franchises. We have an opportunity this weekend to stay ahead of them before the break. We don't play on the 31st as Stormers and Sharks have to. So we're in a very, very good place in terms of, being able to put everything into this fixture with a week off and another week off before we get to Champions Cup. So those are all the sort of contributing factors I took into mind, not only the significance of the Stormers away.